Who's up next in the golden chair? New Fire business coach and rebranding you storytelling coach, living a life of clarity, courage, and confidence. Amy Nubson. I am your host, Christina Vidovich of Women Getting Visible. Well, hello everyone around the world and welcome to this live stream of Women Getting Visible. We are just less than 2.5 weeks away from the Women Getting Visible show and conference in Washington, D.C., October 10, 11, 12. And I just want to say I'm so excited about today's guest, Amy, right here that you see next to me. Listen to this. Amy's a business coach, storytelling coach, collaborator, fractional CMO, marketing strategist, public speaker, nomadic entrepreneur, one of my favorite parts. So join me in welcoming Amy. And Amy and I are about to meet for the first time in person in 2 weeks. And this is the beauty and the visibility showing up here, that power, because we met online through LinkedIn, and she has been a guest on Women's Health, Wealth, and Happiness podcast and shown up on 2 panels. The number 2 is coming up. She is now the second time guest here on Women Getting Visible, the first guest to show up twice, and she's speaking twice at the conference. She is a keynote and a workshop leader. We're about the power of 2s and 3s. So welcome to Amy.
I know, I was thinking about that as I was waiting, I'm like, I know we got connected by LinkedIn. I'm like, but what was it that grabbed our attention, And I was like, it was our love and passion over travel. That's what kept that conversation going and eventually getting to know each other. And I'm like, that's the beauty of getting to know and leading with your passions, because you never know who you're going to meet and why.
You never know who you're going to meet. And sometimes that saying yes, you don't know who you'll have that opportunity. So, gosh, again, the same thing. It's like, oh, I think I reached out to you and you said yes. And I'm like, oh, I'm so excited. Somebody said yes to me, because I was in the beginning of my podcast journey of reaching out to people that I didn't know. I'm like, wow, here's somebody who has, such a neat background. And I'm still newer in that podcast space, but the power of yes. And thank you for saying yes, because here we are today.
I know, that's the right place of yes, right? And that's the thing, like, you never know where to lead. And I think you were in Hawaii when you responded to me. And I'm like, ooh, I love Hawaii. So it's a great, I loved your personality. And what attracted me is you didn't just lead with business, you led with who you were. And that was very attractive. I was like, ooh, I want to know who Christina is. And so I'm glad you did.
And so here we are. So Amy, let everybody know where you are in the world today and a little bit more about the business coach, the storytelling coach, all the amazing things that you do.
I know sometimes that is sometimes the challenge, right? But yes, I'm currently in Minneapolis, Minnesota, but I'm very shortly hoping, fingers crossed, that I will be in Europe next summer for the next couple of years. And so, yes, I am a nomadic entrepreneur, and that is my next journey, is to experience life overseas.
Yes. Oh, I'm coming back. I was just overseas with you for a minute. I just popped back in. Oh my goodness. So I'm going to start with my favorite first question. On a visibility scale of 1 or 0, depending on what you think, but I know you're beyond a 0, invisibility to 10 being absolutely visible in the way that you want, where are you on your scale?
I would say it's probably in the middle, somewhere between a 5 and a 6. Like, I've gone from feeling completely invisible, I'm no longer there, but I know there's so much more to do. And interesting enough, my network is more international. So it's so much harder to get visible because you have such a bigger reach. And so I know there's a lot more opportunities out there. I just have to find them. I have to keep going. I have to keep talking. And it's never ends. But that's kind of the fun of it too, like showing up. It can be extremely scary and nerve-wracking, but it's also the most rewarding thing I've ever done. So
yeah. Absolutely. And it's interesting because I think we had this discussion on our Women's Health, Wealth, and Happiness call about us being that digital nomad of going, how do you work with time zones when you're on the other side of the planet and everybody's used to this time? You're like, oh, I have to get up really early or stay up really late. Oh.
And I love the opposite too, respecting what other people do over. I had an interview this morning with India, and I'm like, I had no idea what time it was, but I know it was one of her last spots, so I knew it was late. So you also respect that conversation when they're willing to work with you on your time zone.
I hear you, because I'm actually going to be in Dubai in my conversation tonight. How fun. We're
Yeah.
the digital nomad from our own seats sometimes.
That's the best part. You don't have to always travel to be able to go. Yes.
Exactly. Well, I know a little bit about you and the journey that you've been on, but I'd love to have you share with our listeners and watchers today. What was it that made you decide that you needed to get visible?
It's when I realized I was comfortable being invisible. That's when I realized I had to get visible. And it's an interesting moment when you realize that, because I was very, very comfortable with that. And I had actually created my whole kind of persona around it. And it wasn't until I recognized that people don't know who I am. They know what I do, but they don't know who I am. And I was really liking that because I didn't have to show up, didn't have to be vulnerable. It was just easier. And that's when I realized I had to be more visible, and I had to step outside my comfort zones in order to do that. And I'm so grateful I did, because I love what I do now. I love storytelling. I love talking on stage. And then that was the most terrifying idea in my life, was the idea of talking on stage. I was shaking visibly the first time I did it. And I mean, I graduated, here's a good example. I graduated in high school with a group of 97 kids that we went through kindergarten to high school, all the way through together. And I talked to somebody from high school, and she goes, I don't remember you in high school or any of it. Did we have class together? I'm like, of course we had class together. We had a small group of people all the way through, but I was invisible.
Yeah.
And that was kind of a moment where I was like, I've done my job really well, too well.
Yeah, that's me right here behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Okay.
I even built my career around it, right? Think about marketing. I brand everybody else's business but my own. And so I was happy with that. And I'm like, okay, now how do I show up as me? Who is the brand of my company? Because I really didn't care about it. And because I was always promoting somebody else.
And I love this whole storytelling piece. And I know that's going to be brought into the conference, and I can't wait to share that with everybody. But tell us a little bit about the storytelling. And through that storytelling, you're helping other people with their own visibility.
Yes. Because I know it so well. The idea where I remember when I was little, my sister would be this dynamic personality. She could complain for 20 minutes and make everybody laugh, and then she entertained. And I was like, okay, so that's her, not me. That's not something I can do. I can't captivate audiences. So I actually took that on, and it wasn't available to me. And so when storytelling came about, I worked on my fear of public speaking. I was like, okay, let's try the storytelling thing out. Let's see what it can do. And it is amazing the shift it did in my own life, and the confidence it started to give me, because I knew how to communicate what I had inside but felt trapped to tell. And that's what storytelling can do. It can bring it to the surface. It can tell the others what you want to, in a way that is still an organic structure, but it's framed out for you, instead of going, I used to like go, oh my God, if I'm going to go in a situation, I'm going to have to talk to people. And I would be so much in my head, and my thoughts would be like overwhelming me. And now I'm like, I'll just tell a story. Like, it's no big deal. Like, it's like, it's okay. I got this. And I love that about stories, and simple stories to the complex ones on stage. They are all part of me, and I carry them with me no matter where I go, versus like a business card you could forget.
Yes.
Those stories are yours.
Yeah.
And why I love helping people with their story is because I've seen it. Doesn't matter where we live in the world, especially with women, we tend to downplay our stories. It's no big deal. Everybody has a story like mine. Why would anybody care? And I'm like, we care. We actually, that matters more. I want to know who you are as a person before I work with you. That's what matters. And it does not have boundaries. I love hearing stories from all over the world, because I'm like, God, they're just like me. I get that. So we create communities so much closer and connected when we know each other's stories.
Yeah, I have a two-part here. Could I put you on the spot and do a little story about me, that of what you know of these
Yes.
last year and a half of our friendship?
Sure, let's do it. Yeah. Do you want me to tell the story, or do you want to, like, so what I do for women, a lot of times I'll have them tell the story and then I'll retell it back to them in a different perspective. Do you want to try that?
Okay, what's my prompts?
Whatever story you were kind of been wanting to formulate and create. Just tell me the story, kind of tell me what's happening, and then I'll help you craft it.
Ooh, let's see. Well, let me talk about the next chapter of what I'm doing after the conference. How about that?
That sounds wonderful.
So the next chapter, so these next 2 weeks are building into this incredible conference with women coming from all over the country. And in the meantime, as I am busy getting all of this sorted and together, I'm still continuing to meet women because I love to travel. So I want to keep having mini conferences around the country and around the world. I've done the coffee and conversations with the 1 and 2s, but I want to do them like 10s and 20s and have women be a part of sharing their story, where I can help facilitate and I can work with other women in other parts of the countries or cities that I'm going to be visiting, and then help empower them through their visibility, through their confidence, and start showing up for themselves. How's that?
Sounds good. Now I have a question for you to help with this. Tell me why telling your story, you personally, why is that telling your story important to you?
Ooh, I love it. Why is telling my story important to me? Or to others, or to me?
To you.
Wow.
Yeah.
You got me there. Because someone who has been shy her entire life, but has always this aura of an extrovert, wanting to finally break that shell free, knowing I could do it. I see other people on that stage. Why can't that be me? Why aren't I the one? I know it's in me, but what is it that's been holding me back this entire time? And now, between an age thing, hitting that decade, my son is now 11. So, he's set to do things on his own more. And now I have more time for me. So I can say, you know what? I'm done hiding behind that curtain and move over. It's my turn to talk.
Okay. So, have you ever felt like you have the personality that everybody wants to see, but you're too afraid to tell them or show them what is inside you, what is happening? That's where I found myself wanting to be the person I knew I could be, but it was inside this place I was hiding and keeping hidden. And then I got to an age where I'm like, now is the time I want to be me. I want to show up. I want to be that dynamic person who gets on stage, because why not me? Why can't I be that dynamic personality? Because that's who I am in my head. Why can't I be that way outwardly? And I know each and every one of you that are out there thinking about, I want to show the world who I really am, but I just don't know how. I don't have the opportunity. I don't know where to start. And who is safe to have that conversation with? That's why I'm so passionate about helping women find opportunities to show up who they are and get visible. And it's either through like we could do it on a podcast, or it could be simply on stage and helping them get an opportunity to do so. It doesn't matter if it's one-to-one or if it's many. This is why I'm so passionate about, because the person inside me is now visible. And I want you to become visible as well.
Woo! Wow.
Yeah.
Can I sign up?
And that's how we do it. We typically tell somebody about the details. You did exactly like a lot of people do. We tell the details, we tell the structure, we tell the how, but not the why.
Yeah.
And why it matters to you and to them. And because we need people to see why we care.
Mm-hmm.
And the stories and the vulnerability of that is what connects us. And go, I love Christina's energy. I love why she's doing it. I would have never known that about you, Christina, that you did not always have this big personality of, I would have never guessed it, knowing you, right?
I'm shy.
So, right? So if you hadn't told me, I would have been like, no way. Not even a little. But that's why it's so important to you. Because you know what it's like to be held back, and not by others, but by ourselves. And that's, I think, why we connect, because that's exactly how I felt. Other people didn't hold me back. I did.
Mm-hmm.
And it was me letting myself come to the surface and be myself. It wasn't like I was changing it. I was just becoming it.
Yeah. And it's so interesting, because how many times I give that advice of get out of your own way.
You were a dancer, right? You can't both lead. You know, you have to you have to know your body to dance.
Yep.
You know, and so it's practice, it's focus, it's understanding, it's clarity, it's all of these things. And then you got dancing is technical, but then there is the charismatic side of dancing. So it's the energy you bring to it. It's the same thing for life. We can go through life doing everything technically right, or we can live life and really experience it.
And it's fascinating, because that is part of the dancing, is telling the story. Anytime I've ever trained anybody to show up on stage, you're not just doing the technical moves. What story are you telling? Are you in Vienna doing this waltz in the ballroom of your dreams with the crystal chandelier? Are you Cinderella? Is this your magical ball? You know, it's really what and it's you know, it's so beautiful to be able to bring that out.
Yeah.
As you have gone through your own visibility journey, and you're going, you know, now with working on more the storytelling, what is the biggest learning experience that you've had for yourself through this phase?
It's amazing how it heals. That's what I've learned more than anything, is the things that used to bother me no longer bother me. Like, or my story was out of heartache and desperation is where my story started. And I sometimes I'm like, I don't feel that anymore. And now that desperation, that hardship is actually my greatest gift. And I'm grateful for it. And if you would have told me 10 years ago that that's the position I would be today, I would have laughed in your face and thought, no way is that even possible. Like, sure, go ahead. But that's honestly where story took me, because I tell the story, and every time I tell the story, it heals a little bit, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. And it's allowed me to become who I am, because it made me also reflect on who I was being, and I didn't like what I was seeing.
Yeah. And we get to redefine and reframe who we are. I think about somebody that I interviewed as well, and she was a cancer survivor as a child. But at some point, she decided she didn't want to tell that story anymore because it didn't serve her anymore. And she's like, no, because that is not the visibility that I want. Is always going, oh, wow, you went through this. She's like, no, I've done so many things since I was 10, because that's when it happened to her. But yeah, and reframing her whole visibility and story.
Yeah, it becomes a perspective instead of the story you want to tell. And that's one thing I love about stories, that people are like, I want to evolve out of this story. And I'm like, great. What's the next chapter? What are you going through? Because we do not stay the same.
Mm-hmm.
There's always a new story, every single day that could be created based on our experience of just walking down the street. A story could be created. We don't know. And it just, whatever's most important to us, and where is our passion matching it? That's what, storytelling. And it's one of the hardest things to do yourself, because we need feedback when we're creating our stories. I mean, you think about comedians don't just get on stage and do like this, Netflix special and have and it's amazing and everybody's laughing. No, they perform it over and over again to perfect it, to get feedback. Same thing we need to do for our stories, because we know them so well, and sometimes we avoid. And nope. And sometimes what we think is interesting isn't interesting, because we're avoiding the real impact moment.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I've learned.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because I think about when you're putting yourself out there to be more visible, you're going to be in more eyeballs. You're going to be, whether it's on video or reading articles or on podcasts and being listened to. So you're putting yourself out there, and boy, sometimes that is a push. But the thing that you can learn about yourself, just like you're talking about, just going through that, is it's okay to be a little bit vulnerable sometimes, because you never know what you're going to learn. And, that's just, that's life. Let's, go for it.
Well, and not every situation is going to be perfect. I remember having a conversation with somebody in Dubai, or Singapore, sorry, it was Singapore. And she's like, let's do a podcast. I'm like, great. She said, Monday night. I'm thinking Monday night would be Monday morning. Nope, wrong. Converted time zones wrong. It was Sunday night. And I'm in my pajamas, and she's like, are you ready for the podcast? I'm like, no, I'm not. And it was the best podcast I ever did. I still feel like it was great, but I was a little bit like, okay, we're going back into business mode here, or conversation mode versus relaxation, go to bed mode, and that's the thing. Like, I'm like, well, that was an experience, and pay more attention to time zones. But that's the thing. They're not always perfect. And every video I do has a mistake, because my ADD brain will go faster sometimes and slower, and sometimes my words get caught up in themselves. And I'm like, but that's who I am. And I'm going to embrace it instead of try to make myself perfect, because that's not who I am. I'm all about embracing the imperfections of life and who you are, because it makes you interesting.
And, I agree 100% with that, because when I hear the word perfect, we're all perfect. We're all perfect the way we are. There's things we want to, tweak and have fun with, but there is no such thing as a perfect, because how boring would that be?
Oh my God, that'd be so incredibly boring. I laugh at myself all the time. I'm like, well, I just did that. Okay. Like you never know. I feel like my friends stick around me sometimes just to see what happens. I'm like, okay. But it makes life enjoyable. Perfect is not something to strive for. At least in my life, I don't. And so getting visible, a lot of it is, I wasn't the best, but you know what? I did it. Yeah. I'm really proud of that. And it's just those many steps and continuing to move forward, and the resilience and adaptability. I mean, honest to God, I think resilience and adaptability are one of my two greatest strengths. And I'm so grateful I have them. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what's next in the visibility journey for Amy?
Well, besides going on stage in a couple of weeks, which is so exciting. I cannot wait. It's probably the biggest stage I've been on, so I'm really grateful and excited. Yay. But yeah, the next things are, workshops that I'm putting together for storytelling, which is always an amazing thing. It's called Exploring Your Origin Story on my website. I love helping people to explore, to see if that's something you want to do. And that's what the whole workshop is all about, is like, where can I connect the dots? But I'm launching several different collaboration efforts that I've been working on all year. And it's so much work, but every one of them is worth it. And including my husband just launched today his board game that he's been working on for 3 years.
Wow.
So the thing about resilience is you just never know where creation will come. And Notorious came out of a great idea, and us laughing about squirrels and nuts and creating a board game around it and testing it and spending many, many hours with these squirrels and creating a really fun game that people can play, right? And so it's just the idea of keep going. And that's how I am. I'm always having a new project. I'm always creating something new, just like you are. I feel like we're very similar that way. We like to stay busy, but with purpose.
Yes.
There's a bigger mission of what we're doing. We're not just filling our time. And that's kind of what I've been creating. Yeah.
That's amazing, because I know it's for anybody who's watching this or listening to it, it might be just after, but next week you have on the 30th, I think, is one of your workshops. But tell us again how we can find you.
Yeah, so it's newfiremarketing.com. So it's like my last name, NU Fire. It's like a new fire, but my last name spelling. So New Fire Marketing, or sorry, that's my old name, New Fire Collective. I've been doing a lot of paperwork lately. New Fire Collective is my company name. And so I do have a lot of things going on, and I'm starting to put them all on to New Fire. But eventually I will have my own branding and my own name, and so I can showcase all of my collaborations. Because I'll be honest, the more you have, the harder it is to communicate everything you do. And it's really finding that core piece. And for me, it's helping women and businesses grow. That is my core belief of who I am. And I can do it through marketing, storytelling, collaboration, community, speaking, helping people grow. And that's what's important, is when you find that key piece that everything connects to.
Fantastic. So the New Fire Collective, we can find Amy there, and you can find her October 10, 11, 12 in Washington, D.C. at the Women Getting Visible show to share your storytelling and to join her workshop. Thank you so much for joining today, Amy. I can't wait to have you on for a third time.
Or maybe when I get my stuff together, I'll get you on my podcast eventually someday.
Ooh, let's do it. Let's do it. Thank you so much. And I hope you enjoyed this episode of Women Getting Visible.
Who will be up next in the Golden Chair? Join us next week. I am your host, Christina Vidovich of Women Getting Visible. Let me personally invite you to the Women Getting Visible show and conference October 10th through 12th in Washington, D.C. We'll kick off Friday night with our VIP reception. Saturday, we'll have powerful keynote speakers, incredible workshops, and networking opportunities. After the Back to Me session, you'll walk away with confidence on Sunday. Join us and get your visibility journey energized.